Hello, 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 and welcome to day 3 of distance learning. Alright, so I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope that so far all the material that we've been working with has been easily accessible and easy to use and pretty clear with instruction. Okay, just want to thank you for your participation and your willingness to cooperate with me. You guys have been really awesome. So let's get on with today's lesson, shall we? So this is day 3, the video content for this. First, we're going to review the homework from day 2. Then we're going to have a grammar lesson on the perfect tense. Okay, and then I'll give you your homework assignment. So without further ado, let me tell you what you need. Okay, so your needed materials for today are your red textbook. Okay, we are in stage 6 right now. You're also going to need a place to take grammar notes, and you will have to submit a picture of your grammar notes that we take now together for class credit. Okay, and you can, again, submit that on Google Classroom as a picture, or if that doesn't work, you can always email me, whatever is fine, but please make sure that you send your notes to me so I know that, we're all on the same page, quite literally and figuratively. Okay? Also, please bring your thinking caps, because today we are going to be learning some super cool stuff. So without further ado, day 2 homework. Here we go. As a reminder, the assignment was part 1. You have to write out the model sentences from pages 88 to 89 with the correct translations that I provided for you in the video for day 2. Okay, and part 2, you were supposed to look at the verb forms in those model sentences and try to figure out some kind of pattern between or among them. And I gave you a hint and said perhaps you should kind of isolate the verbs themselves, write them out, and see what kinds of things you can look for. So I figured I'd start off just going over those sentences a little superficially. Let us pick a nice Bob Ross color. Let's go with a nice... let's do purple today, for now. Okay, so, number 1. The slaves were walking through the street. Okay, subject noun, crickle V. Okay, again, were walking. All right, and suddenly, a dog barked. Okay, pay attention to the translations, guys. All right, sentences 3 and 4. Grumio was fearing the dog. Okay, was fearing here. Pest. The cook shouted. All right, pay attention to the italicized. Okay, Clemens was strong. Okay, was. But the dog overpowered the Clemens. Okay, overpowered is your verb here. Pay attention to that. All right. And here comes your boy, Quintus, who was walking through the street. Okay, also side note, you see the word pair? Is weam accusative? Yeah, buddy, it is. Okay, so Quintus was walking through the street. All right, the young man heard the shout. Okay, heard. And he saw that the dog was annoying Clemens. Okay, was annoying. Pay attention to that. All right, Quintus whacked the dog. Okay, whacked. The slaves were happy. And the slaves praised Quintus. Okay, so those were the sentences with their translations. And I've taken the liberty of typing them all out, isolating them on a slide for you to look at. Okay, so please look at these different forms and please repeat them after me. Okay, ambulabant, latrawit, timebat, clamawit, erat, superawit, ambulabat, audiwit, vexabat, pulsavit, errant, laudaverunt. Okay, so just take a moment. You can pause the video and look at these forms. Some of you guys did give me some very interesting observations about these different verbs and how they might relate to each other and be different, compare and contrast. Okay, but let's be a little more specific. Now, I've separated them out and categorized them into two separate columns. Okay, I would like to point out superficially kind of what they have in common. All right, so in this first column on the left, right, this one right here, okay, the verbs, most of them have a BA in them. Okay, and what kind of sheep go ba? It's the imperfect sheep. Okay, and just as a reminder, the imperfect tense is one wasing, were-ing in Latin, okay? Because there's a wasing or a were-ing in each translation. All right, and ba is the tense marker for the imperfect tense. Excuse me. All right, erat and errant also happen to be imperfect, but that's just a form, an irregular form of the word to be, sum esse fui futurum, which I talked about at minor length yesterday. Okay, now the second column, the column on the right hand side of the screen, okay, if you notice, all of these end pretty much in IT, okay, or a VIT. This one's got erunt. Okay, now each of these, excuse me, are calling cards for the perfect tense. Okay, that's the difference. All right, so on the left side we've got the imperfect tense, on the right side we've got the perfect tense. All right, and we're going to get a bit more into what that means in a second. Now I've put these categorized verbs from the model sentences with translations. Okay, so as I said before, these imperfect ones, okay, they have to include a wasing or a were-ing in their translation. Okay, so they were walking. He was beering. He was. There's no ing because it's just to be. Okay, you could think he was being, right? He was walking. Okay, he was annoying. And they were. Okay, so there's a was or a were in every single translation, and that's indicative of the imperfect tense. Okay? Now over here on the left, sorry, that's the right, I know my directions, on the right side of the screen, okay, are translations. He barked. He shouted. He overpowered. He heard. He whacked. And they praised. Okay, now think about how these sound. Okay, in English, we call this tense the simple past. Okay, it's also called completed action. All right, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Okay, but those are just two very superficial similarities and differences that you can see between the sets of verbs that were presented to us in the model sentences. Okay, so moving right along, now is the time, the part in the show where you go and get your notebook. Okay, we're going to have our grammar lesson. You need to take notes during this portion, so you can send me a picture of them for class credit. Okay, if you don't send me a picture, I can't give you class credit for this. All right, so you can pause the video, go get your stuff, come back. I'm going to keep going for time's sake. So our topic for today is the imperfect tense versus the perfect tense. Okay? The perfect tense being the new tense that we're covering and learning about. All right, so we're going to move right along here with a little verb review. Okay, so first things first. Verbs have 3 characteristics, and they are person, number, and tense. Okay, and if I ever ask you for those 3 characteristics, I am asking you to parse the verb for me. Okay, always, always, always. All right, so verbs, person, number, tense, nouns, gender, number, case. Cool? All right, so person simply asks who is doing the action of the verb. Is it first person, second person, or third person? Okay. Number refers to how many are doing the action of the verb. So is it singular or is it plural? Okay. And tense, which is the thingy we're going to be focusing on today. Sorry, that was a really ugly star. It refers to when the action of the verb is taking place. Okay. You can think of tense as time, not the spice, not the herb. Tense is time, like the thing that ticks. Okay. So in the past, I've told you that there are 2 verb systems in Latin. Okay. Let's go over them real quick. The first one is called the present system. Okay. And within the present system, we've got the present tense, the imperfect tense, and the future tense. All right, the present tense is included in the name of the system that it is included in. You see what I mean? Okay, now the present system, I'm going to change colors here. The present system uses the second principal part of the infinitive to conjugate. All right, we'll go over what that means more specifically momentarily. Okay. The perfect system is the second type of verb system, and within it we have, back to purple, the perfect tense, the pluperfect tense, and the future perfect tense. Okay, now I'd like to point out that in the perfect system, you've got the perfect tense from which the name comes. Okay? It kind of makes sense, right? So in the present system, there's the present tense, and in the perfect system, there's the perfect tense. Okay? The perfect system differs because it uses the third principal part to conjugate. Now remember at the beginning of the year when I was screeching at you all to memorize your verb principal parts? Well, now you're going to see why it was that important. Okay? If you've been memorizing your principal parts up to this point, you will have saved yourself a ton of work, and you'll see why. Okay, so moving on. I've decided to pick 2 tenses, one from each verb system, to talk about. Okay, and let's do this in blue. So from the present system, I've chosen the imperfect tense. Excuse me. And from the perfect system, I've chosen the perfect tense. And we're going to kind of compare the 2 and see how they work together. So let's start with the present system. All right, now, listed below are the 3 steps to conjugating any Latin verb. Okay? Step 1, you find the infinitive, which is the second principal part. Okay, so let's do that. Amare. All right, step 2, pop off the RE to get the stem of the verb. Okay, so that goes away. And you're left with your verb stem, which is ama. Okay. Step 3, you have to add your appropriate endings. Okay, so for this exercise, I'm asking specifically for the imperfect tense. So the appropriate endings are the imperfect tense endings. All right, so let's go through together and conjugate this verb in the imperfect tense. Here we go. Okay, and please be writing along with me. Okay, ama bam. Okay, I was loving. Next, ama boss, you were loving. Okay. Bot, he, she, or it was loving. Okay, now let's move on to the plural. Vamos, we were loving. Vatis, y'all were loving. And amaband, they were loving. Okay, so we've just conjugated the verb in the imperfect tense. Now, let's go through the same process for the same verb, but in the perfect tense, which belongs to the perfect system. Okay, so step 1, find the perfect principal part. Okay, the perfect principal part is the third principal part. So, amo, amare, amawi, that's the one. Okay, step 2, instead of popping off the RE like we did with the second principal part, we pop off the I to get the stem of the verb. So that goes away. And then you add your appropriate endings. Now, for this particular one, I'm asking for the perfect tense endings, which you are about to see in action. All right, so our verb stem, excuse me, is A-M-A-V, amal. Okay, so let's go through this now. Amawi means I loved. Okay, and notice it is actually the third principal part, right? It means I loved. Okay. Wisti is you loved. Okay. Amawit is he, she, or it loved. Amawimus is we loved. Amawistis is y'all loved. And amawerunt is they loved. Okay? So we just conjugated the same verb, but in the perfect tense, with the perfect tense endings, which you're about to see. But, excuse me, before we do that, I would like to draw your attention to something kind of cool about language, if you're interested, which you should be. Okay. Now, we've got one tense called the imperfect tense, and we've got one called the perfect tense. Okay? They're similar. All right? In Latin, the word perfect means complete. Okay? So the perfect tense indicates complete action. All right? I loved. That sounds pretty final, doesn't it? All right? I loved. It's done now. It happened. It's over. It's complete. The action is complete. Okay? But the imperfect tense now, right? Im is a prefix. So im means not perfect. Okay? Imperfect, not perfect, not complete. The imperfect tense is something we call continuous action. Okay? So listen to this. I was loving. All right? That sounds kind of, I could still be loving whatever it is, but you don't know. The verb doesn't tell. It could be continuous action. We're not sure. All right? Listen to this difference. I was laughing at Magistra Slade's joke. All right? I could still be laughing at Magistra Slade's joke. We don't really know. But if we say, I laughed at Magistra Slade's joke, that sounds pretty final. The joke was funny. I laughed. And now it's done. It's completed. Complete action. Okay, so that's the difference between the perfect completed action and the imperfect continuous action. All right, that's just a little grammatical side note to kind of prime your brains for linguistic stuff. Okay, so let's go back to the perfect tense. All right, so here are the perfect tense endings, and this is the time when I need to change to yellow. Okay, so I'll say them out loud once. Please say them with me the next time. Okay, so I, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. Okay, do it with me. Here we go. I, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. Okay, one more time. I, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. Okay, and last but not least, I, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. Alright, so those are your perfect tense endings. Okay, now the ones that are a little more easily recognizable are this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, because this one ends in a T, so we know that that's third person singular. This one still ends in an MUS, this one still ends in a TIS, and this one still ends in an NT, okay? So the only weirdos are these two, really, that you just need to memorize. Okay, well, you should memorize all of these anyway, but, you know, in terms of trying to figure out words. Okay, anyway. All right, so I included a chart of perfect tense with translation. Okay, I chose a word from our chapter. Vitupero, vituperare, vituperavi, vituperatum. Okay, so you take your third principal part. Vituperavi. Get rid of the I, and you've got your stem here. Okay, so vituperavi, I cursed. Vituperavisti, you cursed. Vituperavit, he, she, it cursed. Vituperavimus, we cursed. Vituperavistis, y'all cursed. And vituperaverunt, they cursed. This one's kind of a mouthful to say. All right, but notice, okay, you've got your stem in all of these, okay, and you've got your endings, your perfect tense endings, in all of these as well. Okay, I isti it, imus istis erunt. All right, chant that out loud as much as you need to. All right, now I think we'll go through some practice problems. We need to conjugate in the perfect tense with the translations for each form. Okay. Now, you can pause the video. What I'd like you to do is try them on your own. If you have no idea how to do this, please refer back to this slide, okay, over here, this one on the right side, okay, and that will give you your heading on how to conjugate in the perfect system. So please go through, try these, pause the video, and then when you're ready, I will give you the answers and resume the video, okay? And welcome back. Okay, so number 1, festino, festinare, festinavi, festinatum means to hurry. All right, so step number 1, you have to find the third principal part. Okay, so it's festinavi. All right, step 2, drop the I. So you're left with your stem, which is festinav. Okay, so let's do the stem with the endings. Festinavi, festinavisti, festinavit, festinavimus, festinavistis, and festinaverunt. Okay, now let's do the translations for each. Remember, it's the simple past completed action. Okay, so it just has like whoever blanked. All right, that's how you translate it. So I hurried, you hurried, He, she, it. Hurried. We hurried. Y'all hurried. And they hurried. Okay, so that's your answer for number 1. Number 2, sto, stare, stati, statum means to stand. Now, this is an example of why you need to know your principal parts. Okay, because the third principal part is a little irregular here. Okay, if this followed the normal convention for principal parts, you would think it would be sto, stare, stavi, statum, but it's not. It's steti, and you just need to know that. Okay, so steti, we found the third principal part. You drop the I, and you're left with S-T-E-T. That's your stem. Okay, so now let's go through these and add the endings. Okay, steti, stetisti, stetit, stetimus, stetistis, and steterunt. Okay, and the translations are: I stood, you stood, he, she, it stood, we stood, y'allses stood, and they stood. Okay, that's your answer for number 2. Number 3, same deal. Know your principal parts. Okay, because the third principal part is a little funny looking. All right, so mitto, mittere, misi. Drop the I. Your stem is M-I-S. S-I-S-S-I-P-P-I. Just kidding, that's Mississippi, that's a state. Okay, so M-I-S is your stem. All right, so let's go through and we'll add our endings. So M-I-S-I. M-I-S. Missisti. M-I-S. Okay, misit. M-I-S-I. M-U-S. Missimus. M-I-S. I-S-T-I-S. Missistis. And misserunt. Okay, and let's do the translations together. Okay, I sent, you sent, he, she, it sent, we sent, y'all sent, and they sent. Okay, that's your answer for number 3. Let's move to number 4. Okay, naro, narare, narawi, naratum. This one's pretty regular, follows the same patterns we've seen. Okay, so you found your third principal part, drop the I, you're left with N-A-R-R-A-V. That's your stem. All right, so let's go through and add our endings. Narawi, narawisti, narawit, narawimus, narawistis, and narawerunt. Okay, this is I told, you told, he, she, it told, we told, y'all told, and finally they told. Okay, that's number 4. And number 5, finally, okay? Lego, leggere, legi, lectum. All right, again, this is another example of why you need to know your principal parts, because the stem is the third principal part's really weird. All right, so leg is your stem. Let's go through and add. All right, legi, legisti, legit. All right, it's not legit. It's legit. Okay. Legimus, legistis, and legerunt. Okay. I read, you read, he, she, or it read. Okay. We read, y'all read, and they read. Okay, so those are all the answers for the practice problems. That concludes our grammar lesson. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up on Google Classroom or send me an email. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, now I will leave you with your homework assignment. All right, what I'd like you to do is go through Pugna. It's a reading on page 90 of your textbook, and make a list of the 2 types of verbs in the reading, okay? Both perfect and imperfect. All right, and translate each form, please. Okay, there should be 9 imperfect verbs and 6 perfect verbs in this reading. All right, you can type it up if you want or write it out. This can be submitted to me on Google Classroom, which is preferred. Or if that's not working, just shoot me an email at sslade@gcali.com. Make sure you have this to me by 11:59 p.m. tonight. Okay? So that's it for today. If you have any questions, again, reach out. I'm always around. Don't forget to breathe. All right? I miss your smiling faces. I will talk to you guys soon. Okay? Bye for now.